Alrighty, so in this video we are going to start off by stubbing out a bunch of our activities and fragments. So basically we're going to need one activity and two fragments just to implement our basic screen that I showed you guys in the last video. However, we're also going to need a stub for our contact activity itself. So the activity that you would get to if you clicked on a contact, and we also need to stub out an activity for adding a new contact. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. In our activities, we already have actually a contacts activity here, so we don't need to stub that out. But we do need to go into our fragments, and I'm going to create the two fragments that are responsible for these two screens. So we'll need a fragment for this screen, and we'll need a fragment for this screen. So let's go ahead and open up our fragments package, create a new Java class, and in here, I'm going to go ahead and call this contacts or contacts fragment. Our contacts fragment will inherit from base fragment, and then we're going to go ahead and override create view. So the onCreateView method. And of course I was able to do that by hitting Alt-Enter or Alt-Enter, override method, then type in create view and hit enter. And now we get our onCreateView. I don't really care about the nullable there. I just care about the override annotation. So our onCreateView method is going to inflate our view, and to do that, we simply say view equals inflator, dot inflate r.layout dot fragment contacts. Now, since we're in a different namespace, our package, we do have to hit Alt-Enter to import the R class. I know that the fragment context is red right now. We'll fix that in a moment here. For the container, we'll pass in container, and we'll pass in false to attach to root. Then we're simply going to say return view at the end. Now let's go ahead and create our fragment contacts layout. I'm going to do that by hitting Alt-Enter, enter, and we'll create a linear layout. For this, we'll go ahead and just keep all the parameters as they are. Really, the only thing we need here is a list view. So I'm going to write a list view with the layout width of match parent and a layout height of match parent. And I'm going to give it an ID of fragment contacts list. Now, it is interesting to point out that we will be doing this quite frequently, as in creating a fragment that only has a list view inside of it. And the reason I do this instead of using the fragment list view or the list view fragment or the list view activity is because I find that it's just easier to go ahead and create a fully fledged layout yourself than it is to rely on the list view fragment or fragment list view or activity list view, because then in the future, if you needed to change something, you could easily go into this layout. So it just is a sort of maintainability sort of thing. I like going the long way around creating these layout files and making sure that I can come in here and edit them at my own will, rather than relying on whatever layout comes from the list view fragment. Okay, so now that we've done that, we have now successfully stubbed our contacts fragment out. Not that exciting. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and right-click Fragments, select New Java class, and I'm going to create a pending contact requests fragment. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Delete that awful comment, create a base, or have it inherit from base fragment, and then override on get view, on create view. I don't know how I forgot that when I literally just typed it in a second ago. We'll nuke that nullable annotation. I don't really care about that. And we'll say view equals inflator dot inflate r dot layout. Woo, that wasn't even close. R dot layout. No. You are just going to give me a really hard time, aren't you? Hit Alt-Enter. There we go. We got it. Fragment and pending contact requests. Passing in container for the view group and passing in false for the add to root, and then returning the view. And then, of course, inside here, I'm going to hit Alt-Enter, create a layout resource file. Give it a linear layout here. I could just, instead of doing a linear layout, I guess I'll do that in this one. I'll just go ahead and create, the only layout he's going to have is a list view. And the list view is not a view group, so it's the only view that's going to be in this layout. Just to show you guys that this is a perfectly valid way to go about it. I still am going to give the list view an ID. I'm going to say fragment pending contact requests list. And the reason I'm giving it an ID here, instead of just saying over here, well, I could just say list view equals cast to list view, right? I could just, list view. I could just go ahead and cast this layout to a list view because that's what we're inflating here. We're just inflating a list view. But this isn't very flexible because, like I said before, if we ever needed to come back into this layout and add something in addition to this list view, I still want to get this list view by ID. Also, list views act funky without IDs anyway. Okay, so that is our stub for our fragment pending contacts request. So let's go ahead and close all that stuff out. Now I'm going to come up here to activities, and I want to stub out a couple activities. The first one I want to stub out is going to be our contact activity. So I'm going to right-click Activities, select New, Java class, and I'm going to say Contact Activity. And he's going to inherit from base authenticated activity, which of course will result in some red squigglies because base authenticated activity has an abstract method. So to implement that, we simply hit Alt-Enter, Enter, and Enter to do on your create. Then what we're going to do here is we're not going to set a nav drawer or anything like that, or even set our transitions here. Instead, all we're going to is set our content view. So I'm going to say set content view hit Alt-Enter to import that class, r.layout.activity_contact. In addition, I am going to, before I implement this layout, I am going to do something interesting here. Basically, when we launch this activity, we are going to need to pass in the user details that we want this activity to display. So all the way at the top of the file, I'm going to create a public static final string extra_user_details equals extra user details. So this extra user details information is going to be passed into the intent, and it's going to instruct the contact activity of the details of that particular contact to display. Now for here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Alt-Enter on the red here and select Create Layout Resource File. And we're going to say Linear Layout, that's fine. Hit Enter. We might change this to a relative layout later, I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and throw a text box, a text view in here with a width of match parent, height of match parent, a gravity of center, and give it a text of contact activity. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just centering here a text view to show us that we're in this activity. Again, this is just a stub of an activity. It's not going to be the fully implemented activity yet until we actually get to implementing it. So now I also want to implement or stub out the add friend activity or add contact activity. So let's go ahead and do that. Over here on activities, I'm going to right click, select new Java class, and I'm going to say add contact activity. Now our add contact activity will inherit from base authenticated activity, and we'll go ahead and implement his abstract method. And just like before, I am going to go ahead and set the content view to r.layout.activity_add_contact. We'll import r, but before we do this layout, I'm going to do something interesting here at the top as far as constants go. So I'm going to create a public static final string, and it's not going to be an extra. It's going to be a result contact equals result contact. So what is going on here? Basically, the add contact activity is actually going to return the contact that was added. So if you invoke the add contact activity using the start activity for results method, you'll be able to extract the contact that was added, or the details about the contact that was added. So that's why I have the result contact constant right there. Anyway, now that we've done that, let's go ahead and implement this layout. Again, it's just a stub, just so that we know we landed on this activity. So I'm going to hit Alt-Enter, create layout resource file. Linear layout is fine. Again, we might change this to a relative layout later. It doesn't really matter, as long as we have a text view, match parent, gravity, not a layout gravity, but a normal gravity of center, and a text of add contact activity. And that way we'll know when we landed on this activity. So yeah, I think that's going to be it for this video, because we now have all the stubs in place, so we can start kind of gradually building up our our contact activity. So yeah, I guess we'll see you guys in the next video.